Sometimes you don't connect with the books you're reading, and that can feel very overwhelming, and the reading slump can be real and detrimental. Almost was for me, but I want to talk about what book broke that and why I have hope going forward and what I've learned from the experience of book slump to victory. I don't know. Welcome to Writing Through It. I'm Eric, and the books that I've been reading have not been going well, as I've said in a previous video, but I also said that one book saved it. Now, what I'm saying is I had 3 books in a row that I either DNF'd or finished, and I was like, I don't like reading. It didn't connect with me. I didn't get into it. I read to escape, to learn, to be exposed to new things, and the books weren't doing that. Not to their fault, but something in the language, something did get lost in translation with me, and I respect the talent, but I just didn't enjoy it. It's kind of like you're going to see a painting and say, that's a really great painting. It means nothing to me. I don't feel it. It's not speaking to me. But there is an appreciation. I can understand how good and talented and hardworking the artist was. And I certainly can say that about the books that I DNF'd. Nothing has been like, this is a disgusting work of putrescence. Should not be on the shelves. Be gone with you, demon book. Certainly not that experience. But I didn't like them. I didn't enjoy them. Maybe that's a better way to say it. I didn't enjoy it. But then I came to a book that made me breathe again and make me feel happy. And the funny thing is, it's not my favorite book. It ranks high for sure, but it wasn't like it had 0 flaws. It didn't carry me through the whole thing. There were certain parts that I lost interest in, but that's, I think, every book I've ever read. I've never read a book where I was engaged the entire time. So I don't think that's the mark for success. But the book that pulled me out of my reading slump, that gave me faith that I do like to read things and it's gonna happen again, and if I fall off the train, I will be brought back on if I just keep on running. That book is The Library at Mount Char. Can you see it through the glare? Do I gotta cover my face so you can see the book? Oh, The Library. Look at that cover too. Like, it's pretty interesting. And I didn't understand it, but then as you read it, you kind of understand it. And I like books that make you do that make you read a little bit to make sense of what's on the front cover. Some things I want to mention about this, and one thing that is not about the book really, but about the writing journey, because it's hard. So the author is Scott Hawkins. The book is a fantasy novel. It is different from anything I've read, and that is what a lot of people, I think, said about it, is it's a very unique brand of fantasy. It does follow magic, it does follow religion in its own way, but it does so in a modern timeline that I've not read like it, and the characters are very different. Each child in this library has a catalog of learning that they're bound to learn and understand that is mythic and magical in its nature. Like, magical healing is one of the catalogs, and so is basic medicine, but it goes beyond that to like magically do so. And not to give everything away, but there's also a dude, Michael, who he speaks the languages of all animals. Basically, that's like his catalog is beast speaking, and he lives with them. I mean, anyway, I don't want to get into the details of the book, but it is different. I've never read a book like it, especially in the fantasy world. I don't even know why I qualified that, because I've never read a book like it anywhere. So just leave it at that, Eric. But there's parts where you lose interest, where I lost interest, I should say. And that's okay. That's like every book. But then it would like suck me in, and I would just be like just feverishly reading through the pages, and then eventually it would lose me again a little bit. It'd slow down, but I guess you need time to breathe too, and you have to get these information seeds out, and some conversations might have went too long, but that's okay too, because I still got the overarching narrative. I got the story, and even if I zoned out for a few paragraphs here and there, I didn't feel like I was ever missing anything. And that's also a really good thing about books for me, is when I can do that and still feel like I'm not lost and have to go back and refigure things out. When I write, I want that same thing where, like, I realize you're not going to read all of the lore and all of the world building I'm doing, but I want you to not be so zoned out that you're going to forget everything and not read the book even. But for those of you who do care about that stuff, you can be locked in and get those details. And ultimately, I'm writing a book that is an expression of what I want to write. So I understand that in any book, that's what the author is doing. So it gave me back my faith that I like reading. And spoiler alert, I'm filming this video after I hit another reading slump. And that was broken up by another book. So I'll get to that book when I'm finished with it, probably in August sometime, because it's a big chonker of a book, but that gave me back my faith. So what I've realized is whatever it is in life, if we value it, we're going to come across these droughts that we experience, and we have to stay with it and not overjudge it, because if we block it completely, we're going to prevent ourselves from getting to that moment of clarity where we remember and finally hit the thing that we love and remember why we love it. And that's the key, is remembering why we love it. There are certain things that the books that I'm losing interest in are doing or not doing that are not the same as the books that I do love. All I'm doing is gaining a better understanding of what I care about and what I look for in a story that's my favorite. That doesn't mean that's all I read, though. That doesn't mean that's all we do, though. It just means this is our home. And when we venture out of our home, we can do it in smaller doses and still expand that neighborhood we live in, hopefully, or at least learn the things that are really just big turnoffs to us. And yeah, maybe avoid it for a good chunk of time before we come back to it and give it another shot. I think that's completely healthy and fine, but it's bad. It's bad for us when we block it completely and say, no, not for me, good sir. The last thing I want to talk about is Scott Hawkins himself. Before I read this book, I read what was on the front cover, and it was a quote from the Wall Street Journal, which is a major publication. You maybe have heard of it, I don't know. And it says this: the work of the newest major talent in fantasy. That stuck with me. Before I cracked open the book, I felt heaviness. Because I was like, what is it like to have your debut novel, which this is his debut novel. What heaviness happens when you get released and launched into the world that way? Maybe some can handle that. I mean, I'm just thinking to myself, if I had that lobbed my way, I might get overwhelmed and feel like I have to follow this up and become the new, Brandon Sanderson, the new Tolkien, I don't know, the new great voice in the fantasy world. But at any rate, it made me wonder how he handled it. So after I finished the book, and yeah, it was great. I understand where those comments might come from, that it is different. So it is very new and fresh. So I went online and looked and see what other books he had written, and I didn't find any. What I did find were a lot of interviews where he was being interviewed about this book and the future plans. And some of the interviews were from 2019, 2024, I think was the most recent one that I read. And that could have been a rehashing. I didn't really look too deep into it. But what I did hear him say in these interviews, the same thing in 2019 as later, was that he had written this book and then went on to the next one and had written, I think, one book that was just immediately tossed aside. They're like, yeah, this isn't working, his editor, his beta readers. Then he wrote a second one, and then all of a sudden it was like, yeah, this chapter one is super strong, but you kind of lose it. And then the third book was kind of the similar thing, and then I think it just faded away because he wrote 3 novels, and none of them were interesting or intriguing enough to be published by his editor, from my understanding, or for the beta readers that were reading it. And I think that has to be incredibly disheartening. To go through 3 more novels after you're the newest voice in fantasy, like you're going to revolutionize the industry, it feels like, and then you can't even get the steam going to make another. And then he always said that he would love to do a second book, a follow-up to this, yet I don't know where that ever fell, because if he wanted to do it, I don't know why he didn't, or if he did and it still felt the same, like it just wasn't a follow-up, it wasn't worthy, he just had one book in him, that kind of thing. That's what gets in my head, and that's one of my core fears about creativity is I have one book in me, and people say that everyone has one novel in them, and I don't like that. I want to believe that we all are capable, if it's our calling, to create more, but that scarcity of I have one good idea, and unless I capture it right now, I'm never going to be able to do it, is real. And he does, I believe, author computer programming textbook or educational things. When you go up on his Amazon or his profile, that's what he also does. So maybe he just went into that, but 2015. This was written in 2015. So it's been 10 years and he's not been able to follow it up. Now, I'm not saying that the quote on the book cover is what did him in, or that it even bothered him, or that he's all depressed because he could never follow it up. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just putting myself in that position, and that's the fear that came into me when I read that. And then it turned out that he didn't follow it up. So what does that say about me? That's kind of, as a creative, how you're a storyteller, I'm a storyteller, and we're always taking information in that we don't have complete capture of and filling in the blanks, creating that story. That's the same thing when you're reading a book. You don't see every detail on the page, so your brain makes it up. It fills it in. It gives character descriptions loosely, and then you fill in what that character looks like, what the house looks like, what their clothing looks like, because there is no image. We do the same thing with self-doubt and with things like, oh, the work of the newest major fiction author. My mind is going to fill in all those gaps because the interview didn't tell me how he feels about it. He seemed confident and not broken up about it, but my mind is saying, how could he not? I certainly would be broken, but that's my story, and I have to accept that it's my story, so I get to sit with it and figure out what it means for me. And it means that I need to stop listening to this idea that I can't create more than one thing because I've created many. And though I'm not published, though I'm not a famous filmmaker, I've still created multiple things that I care about. And that is the standard of what I consider excellence for myself, for my best interests. Anything beyond that is wonderful. We are guaranteed the right to work. We're not guaranteed to the fruits of that labor. So as long as I love the work and the process, then I'm good. I'm okay. And should I ever be blessed enough to be honored with a successful book based on my hard work and effort, I don't want to feel bad if I can't make another. But I love it so much that I want to create another, so I will keep writing, and I'm sure he probably feels the same way. Again, I'm telling myself another story to make myself feel good. That's what we do. I'm not making a judgment or saying this is how he feels, but that's the process of being a storyteller outside of creative world, because creativity is seeing things as they could be, not as they are. And I don't know how it is for him. I don't know what it is. So I'm creating a vision in my head of what it could be, what his experience could be, and what that tells me about myself and my own journey. And that's okay. But I wanted to get that out. I'm grateful for this book. Hopefully he's doing well. And I know there's hope if I get into another reading slump, because it happened again and I'm back out of it, baby. So that's going to do it for this video. Thanks for stopping by, and hope to see you in the next one. And until then, journey well, my friends.